All right, everybody, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a framework that I think can truly change how we all make decisions. We're going to explore that crucial, often blurry line between a good decision and a good outcome, and figure out how to make smarter choices, especially when things feel uncertain. So let's jump right in.
First up, we're going to start by looking at a cognitive bias known as the resulting trap. And honestly, there's no better way to understand it than by revisiting one of the most talked about moments in sports history.
You probably remember this. Super Bowl 49, Seahawks versus the Patriots. In the final nail-biting seconds, Coach Pete Carroll makes a call that leads to an interception, and they lose the game. Instantly, the entire world decided it was the worst decision ever made. But was it really? The judgment, you'll notice, was based 100% on the outcome.
The stakes just couldn't have been higher. The obvious move, the one everyone was screaming at their TVs, was to hand it off to their superstar running back. But they chose to pass. The ball was intercepted. Game over. But here's what all that immediate criticism missed: the actual data. In that specific situation, a pass was statistically very, very safe, with only about a 2% chance of being intercepted. The decision-making process was actually sound, even though the outcome was absolutely disastrous.
And this brings us to a really key concept borrowed from the world of poker. It's called resulting. It's that mental shortcut our brains love to take, where a good outcome must have come from a good decision, and a bad outcome, well, that must have been a bad decision. Pete Carroll and his team were victims of the whole world resulting. They made a high percentage play that just happened to hit a low percentage, catastrophic result.
Okay, so let's turn this around and look at ourselves. Take a second. I want you to think about what you'd call your worst decision from the past year. Got it? Now be honest. Are you thinking about a bad process, or are you just replaying a bad outcome in your head? I'm willing to bet you're actually thinking of your worst result. We all do this. We judge ourselves, we judge others based entirely on how things turned out, and we completely forget to look at the quality of the thinking that got us there.
So why? Why do we fall into this trap so darn easily? Well, to figure that out, we need to take a quick look at how our brains are actually wired to deal with a world that is fundamentally uncertain. You can think of our minds as having two different operating systems. The reflexive mind is fast, it's intuitive, it's automatic. That's the part that slams on the brakes before you even consciously realize a car is pulled out in front of you. Then there's the deliberative mind. It's slow, analytical, and it takes real effort. It's the one you use to solve a tricky problem. The resulting trap? That's a classic move by our fast, reflexive mind jumping to a simple and often wrong conclusion.
Now, the really important thing to get here is that this isn't a flaw in our wiring, it's actually a feature. Our brains evolved for survival, to find certainty wherever they could. For our ancestors, assuming that a rustle in the grass was a lion, even when it was just the wind, was a life-saving habit. The problem is, that same life-saving mechanism kind of misfires while we try to apply it to the complex, probability-filled decisions of the modern workplace. And this leads us right into a related trap, hindsight bias. You know this one. Once we know how something turned out, our brain cleverly rewrites history to make that outcome feel like it was totally obvious all along. It's that little voice in your head that says, I should have known it would turn out this way. It feels so true in the moment, but it's really just an illusion, and it's one that stops us from learning the right lessons from the past.
Okay, so let's move on to a powerful mental model that I think will completely reframe how you approach your work and your decisions. It all starts with understanding what kind of game we're all actually playing.
A lot of us are taught to treat our careers, and life in general, like a game of chess. It's a game of pure skill, perfect information. Every piece is on the board. If you lose, it's because you were outplayed. Simple as that. But the reality is, life is much more like poker. It's a game of incomplete information, where luck plays a huge role. You can make the absolute best, most calculated decision with the cards you have, and still lose the hand. This simple equation says it all. It forces us to separate two very different things. We cannot control luck. We can't control the cards we get dealt. All we can ever control is the quality of our decisions. And that's where 100% of our focus has to be. On the process, not on the random chance of the outcome.
Framing it this way, it changes everything, doesn't it? That project you're thinking about taking on, it's a bet.
That new person you're about to hire? That's a bet. That major strategic shift your team is planning? It's a bet on a particular future. This isn't about being reckless. It's about looking uncertainty square in the face and allocating our resources, our time, our money, our energy based on probabilities, not pretending we have guarantees.
So, if that's the game, how do we get better at playing it? How do we get better at placing these bets? Let's equip ourselves with a few practical tools you can start putting into practice this week.
We're going to look at 3 specific techniques. They're designed to wake up our slow, deliberative mind, to challenge our own biases, and to create a feedback loop that will actually help us learn and get better over time.
First, build what author Annie Duke calls a truth-seeking pod. Think of it like a decision-making buddy system with a small group of colleagues you really trust. But here's the key. Their job isn't to agree with you or make you feel good. It's to challenge you. Their goal isn't agreement, it's accuracy. You need people who will poke holes in your logic and help you see the world more objectively, pulling you away from your own biased view of things.
Second tool, and this one is fantastic, is to practice a little mental time travel with a technique called a pre-mortem. So before you launch a big project, you get your team in a room and you say, okay, let's imagine it's a year from now and this project has failed spectacularly. Now everybody, on your own, write down all the reasons why it failed. It's this brilliant way to bypass our natural optimism and uncover all those potential risks before they ever have a chance to happen. And this brings us to our third tool, which is really all about learning. See, in a perfect world, our experience would follow this nice, clean learning loop. We have a belief about the world, we make a bet based on that belief, we get an outcome, and that outcome neatly updates our original belief. Simple, right?
Well, of course, the real world looks a whole lot more like this. Luck and hidden information are constantly messing things up, breaking that clean loop. A great process, a really smart bet, can still lead to a bad outcome just because of bad luck. And we've all seen it. A terrible process can get lucky and produce a great outcome. This is exactly why we can't trust the outcome alone as a reliable signal for learning. We have to go back and analyze the quality of the bet itself.
And how do you do that? You keep a decision log. It's as simple as it sounds. When you make an important decision, you write it down. What's the bet? And crucially, what's your confidence level in it? Put a percentage on it. Then, later, you record the outcome, and, this is the most important part, you analyze your process. Over time, this creates the data you need to finally separate skill from luck and truly calibrate your judgment.
Okay, let's bring all this home. Adopting this way of thinking isn't just about using a few clever tools, it's about making a fundamental shift in your entire mindset.
The single biggest shift you can make is to redefine what it means to be wrong. A bad result does not automatically mean you made the wrong decision. It just means one of the many possible futures, including the less likely ones, happen to occur. When you make a bet that has an 80% chance of success and it fails, you weren't wrong. You just experienced the 20%. Embracing this idea frees you from the emotional weight of resulting and hindsight bias.
So here's your challenge for this week. I want you to pick one important decision you have to make. And instead of agonizing over being right, I want you to frame it as a bet. Start your decision log. Write down the bet, the possible outcomes, and most importantly, your confidence level as a percentage. That's it. That's the first step. And that's how we stop just hoping for good luck and start building a process that truly earns it.